Tan Hut, and a great Friday to everyone out there in my racehorse land. Nick Hines reporting for duty here on My Racehorse Live, My Racehorse TV, if you will. We have an exciting show for you today. Of course, we are going to take a step back and recap last weekend's proceedings with a nice debut run from our Moonlit Doro filly. But without further ado, I'd like to welcome in our good friends, Hannah, Joe, good day, good Friday. And we've got a great show for you all out there today. And of course, not only are we going to take that step back, but we're going to look forward and get into what looks to be a very exciting time. It's been a crazy past couple of months, of course, here at My Racehorse. And we are one step closer toward the first Saturday in September. Hannah, Joe, good to see you here on this Friday on My Racehorse Live.
Good to see you guys.
All right, yeah, we no doubt great show for you, and we've got a couple of special guests, which include a My Racehorse owner and Matt Kimmel. Of course, we're also going to bring in an analytics expert in the horse racing world, and I'm sure many of you have heard his name, Jake Kilgore, who was featured on an ESPN feature regarding the great Zenyatta and Stride Analytics. So look forward to having both Jay and a bit later on in the show, Matt Kill. I'm sure many of you have seen Matt's wall of fame on social media. It's been an incredible run in a short amount of time, and he's very proud of it, as we are, to have him part of My Racehorse Nation. All right, so Jeff Evans, hello from Kentucky. And of course, this is a show that will be interactive. We'll get into the social aspect of it a bit later. And I kind of wanted to jump into things here in reference to last weekend. And Joe, Moran, both you and I obviously on campus, and want to thank the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club for allowing owners times one, now times four per horse, licensed owners, to have that opportunity to enjoy the races there. A little different, but I must say I truly enjoyed the atmosphere, and being around the horses again is truly great. But Joe, referencing our Team Mandela crew, I'm sure they were happy with the performance of Moonlit Doro from last weekend.
Yeah, they were extremely proud. I talked to Gary again yesterday, Richard's son, and they talked about everything that she's always done, and they've said it from the beginning, how she's ultra professional. And I think she showed it again. And he said it even in the pre-race when they were getting, her prepped at the barn. He said, I was almost kind of worried because she was so calm and relaxed, getting the bridle on and everything like that. She handled everything great. When she walked into the paddock, she came in like a professional. You could see, shortly after the break, she did kind of drop back a little, and Flavian and Mandela's related that to the dirt kickback hitting her. And it kind of shocked her a little bit, and you saw her drift back. But she really came running. And I mean, a lot of horses like that, especially fillies, tendency will not to be to run on first time out on debut like that. So I think there's a lot to look forward to with her.
Yeah, no doubt exciting. The anticipation going into the race, she was bet down to a favoritism, ended up at 3-5. But as you mentioned, when these first time starters, they show the ability to make, multiple runs in a given race. Because if you watch the race, as we all did, at about the 3/8 mark or the 5/16, you weren't real sure what was going to take place. I know, Joe, I think Miss Shack, I think the fact that impressed you most, not only the fact that she was able to take dirt, but being able to split horses. And I thought her gallop out was decent as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the resiliency that, as Joe Moran alluded to, you put most horses, we see older horses be put in those situations, and they want to get out of there. It's not comfortable for them. They would rather have the outside trip and make an easy, unimpeded run. So, no guarantees going forward, which we always say. But that was sure an impressive debut. And, a lot of folks out there, they're very fixated on speed figures, whether it be Sheets or Buyers or Equibase. And I see some folks out there saying it's slow. I've seen a lot of, and Nick, you and I have talked about this at great length. I've seen a lot of 5 furlong races with fast speed figures come back, and I always question them. And typically a horse comes and they don't perform up to that level. And I've seen horses run, what people consider to be a low speed figure the first time at 5 furlongs, and the horse just ascends, up through the moon after that. So take everything with a grain of salt, and it's 5 furlongs. We all know she wants to go a lot further. It was encouraging to see her sit back, relax, and make that move. So we're feeling pretty good moving forward.
Yeah, no doubt. When you take into consideration Papa Mandela, Richard Mandela, and his ability to get these horses to develop, and we certainly look forward to that next step. Potentially, it could be Joe Moran. Is it safe to say that there is a chance that she could come back before the end of the meet at Del Mar?
Yeah, I would definitely say the way she's come out of the race, they couldn't be happier. So I would expect to see her come back at Del Mar. Where that be, that's unknown at this point. We'll see how she works back and then go from there.
Also want to mention to the fans and partners who are tuning in, of course, we are going to touch on some exciting news with reference to new additions, namely 13 Stripes, Naismith, and the New York Exacta, which is a quite exciting time in itself. But as we look ahead from a racing standpoint, I'm going to send this question over to Joe Mishak. Also want to remind you folks with Hannah, our social media correspondent, with all the answers there. Feel free to send in questions and thoughts. And, of course, you still have an opportunity to get some of that swag at the My Racehorse store. Well, this weekend, the returning street band, returning in a couple of different ways. She returns to the site of her maiden win at Ellis Park. And having not raced since Oakland Park, Joe Mishak, I know many are excited to see her back in the starting stall. A $1.1 million earner. We recall the Grade 1 victory in the Cotillion last year as part of our partnership with Ray Francis, Cindy Jones, of course, Medallion Racing, My Racehorse Stable. We're very proud of her accomplishments. Now, Street Band makes a return. Nice series of drills coming back, including 3 bullet bests. What's the latest with her, Joe Mishak? And in a 12-horse field, which is quite competitive, what's the anticipation and what's the year-end goal?
Yeah, so let's jump to the end. The year-end goal is obviously the Breeders' Cup Distaff, and so now it's a matter of backing up from there and getting the road started now in the Groupie Doll. And Larry Jones has been, and a lot of the Street Band shareholders who might be tuning in know this. Some of you all out there that don't. She runs really good fresh. So after she put in a series of races early this year, she took a little time off. Larry wanted to freshen her up. She's still really keen in the mornings when she came into her 4-year-old campaign. So Larry and jockey Sophie Doyle really wanted to continue to work on letting her relax, letting her get into the race and not be so aggressive coming out of the gates. I think drawing the 12-hole in a 12-horse field, Larry was quoted in the press saying that's probably going to be our likely strategy is to sit back a little bit and make that run we saw in the Cotillion last year that was so impressive, so many of us, and go from there. So I think, drawing the 12-hole there certainly sets up for that type of run that we want to see.
Well, most definitely. I think coming back at 7/8 of a mile is kind of, when you look at this race being a mile with the dog leg, when you look at the configuration of the track there, it kind of, in how this race loops, it almost gives you the impression that it is a one-turn mile. So I think that when you look at distance perspective, the way I handicap this race, for me personally, is as a 7/8 race, because positioning is obviously key, but it's going to be important for her to get over from that outside slot, coming off that dog leg up the backstretch. But morning line odds, Joe Moran, if you had an opportunity to handicap, and do we have a morning line on Street Band?
We got a morning line of 3-1. I believe that is the morning line favorite. I haven't really got to dig deep too much into it specifically in replays that I generally like to, but I guess Lady Apple would be the first one that catches my eye. We faced her in the Houston Ladies Classic, and she's a horse that I have always preached. I thought Steve Asmussen has done a tremendous job campaigning that filly. And she's one that shows up and brings her game almost every single time. So I think she'd be the logical contender that we gotta beat.
Yeah, it's a nice balance of a field. It's a great wagering race. And, when you look at Street Band throughout her career, she's been pretty consistent, not big layoff lines, but with her consistency, she's won nearly a third of her races. And as we had said, a $1.1 million earner. So that post time, just to be clear, on Sunday, race night at Ellis, approximately 4:40 Central. That puts you at after 5:30 in Eastern Am I getting that right? So what would it be out here for us on the left coast? 330 or
240.
240. So
Yep.
240 for us on the left coast, and for you Easterners, 540, 440 Central. And we'll be sure to remind you that we will have that available for you. My Racehorse Live will be airing that particular race in addition to your opportunities in going to TVG for all of the coverage. So Street Band making your comeback and a step toward a return in the Breeders' Cup Distaff, of course, this year, which will be at Keeneland Racecourse. All right. So, well, some excitement. Obviously, we also had a question, and I want to go back to Hannah and take a step back to Moonlit Doro. Joe Moran, Hannah has a question for you, sir.
So from the Triple Crowns, do you think she is going to be 2 turns, breeding suggests? This is about Moonlight Doro.
Yeah, pedigree-wise, I would definitely say yes. Her build and size, she's not the biggest Scopius filly. So I don't know how far 2 turns she wants to go, but I definitely think just the way she's able to relax and settle, she's going to handle and appreciate 2 turns for sure long term.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I think that the key, it's not so much the physical attribute or just the pedigree itself, but it's the mental. And if you watch her race the other day, for her to exhale like she can finish, I mean, I have to say that, if you're a shareholder in Moonlit Doro, you've got plenty to look forward to, especially with an exciting pedigree that has a lot of compatibility for different services. I don't think she's going to be relegated pure to Hannah. Any other questions there on Moonlit Doro?
Not on Moonlight Doro. So if we want to save some for the end, we can.
All right. So we'll come back to the social questions, and a big shout out to you, Hannah, from David Reynolds. If you're the one responsible for all the updates and photos we get, we then thank you very much. Doing a fantastic job. And of course, our social team is the top, bar none.
Very kind of all of them. I really enjoy doing that part of the social media process. And of course, the updates are thanks to Joe and Joe Moran. So both of them do a great job of letting me know when I can post some great content on social.
Yeah, the one thing I can appreciate, having been in this industry since birth, is the fact that there is that transparency. I mean, not all the news we get, unfortunately, on a given day is the best news. I mean, we want it to be blue skies and rainbows and unicorns and all that jazz. But at the end of the day, these horses are ever evolving, and it could be good, it could be not so good, it could be indifferent, it could be bad. But the good news is that we're here to answer those questions and to get you through the process. As we get to Matt Kimmel on a bit later, we'll have that opportunity to talk more about that. So I believe we were going to get into the heres and nows in reference to the availability standpoint as far as horses, and of course the buying process. So many questions, Joe Mishak, in regards to that buying process. It's not just horse enters the ring, you throw your hand up, and you're the proud new owner of a thoroughbred racehorse. It's obviously a more complex process. There are a lot of boxes essentially that go into it, and all 3 of us, of course, both Joes, myself, and even our boss has been attending these sales, and it's a quite an intricate process. So just touch with us, Joe Mishak, on the buying process, and obviously be welcoming in Jay Kilgore here momentarily.
Yeah, and I think the buying process, it's an extensive process, folks. It's I know there's a lot of football fans out there, so the way I look at it is this is like the scouting combine and draft in one week or a couple of days. We go to these sales in person, Nick, myself, Joe Moran, other folks. And there are a number of components that we do. We get back on that plane after the sale. We're very happy about our process and what we've purchased. And we also need a good night or 2 rest afterwards. So it's a fun process. So the first process that we utilize is you always look at the athlete first. And specifically for a 2-year-old sale, it's what we call the breeze show. The workout show. So horses work out generally from 1/8 of a mile to 3 furlongs. Most horses are in that 1/8 of a mile to 1/4 mile workout. And what we're looking for there is a number of factors. Yes, time is important, but it's certainly not everything. Nick, you and I know that there's so many times that we've seen workouts in 9 and 4 for 1/8 of a mile, or 20 seconds, 20 and 2, or whatever the case may be, that I don't like. And we're not going to go get that athlete because they did it fast, but they didn't do it efficiently. And there was a lot of inefficiencies in their stride. So it's okay to have a horse that works a little bit slower, a 10-2 or a 21-2. They might have stumbled coming out of their break, and they really picked it up. We what we call the gallop out afterwards. So they have that official time, but they go an extra couple furlongs afterwards. So we clock those, and we look for patterns to see our horses speeding up or horses slowing down. So you can have a horse that worked in that 9-4, but their next eighth of a mile was in 11 seconds or 12 seconds, and that 3/8 is in 38 seconds. So clearly they were fast for that first eighth of a mile, but they were really slowing down after that. On the flip side, you can have a horse that speeds up after a 10-2, and they can go 10-3, out in 33 and change. So those are some of the factors that we're looking at when it comes in to the brief portion of evaluating a horse at a 2-year-old sale.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, obviously, you've got it so eloquently placed out here, the buying process. There is so much that goes into it. And obviously, a lot of it, most of it is subjective. It's much like, even turn the clock back roughly 6 to 8 months when you're attending these yearling sales. And basically, you're assessing a horse based on an individual walk. The pedigrees come into play. But obviously, at the end of the day, the mindset is to come up with the best athlete and trying to get that athlete for the best bang for your buck. It's not always the highest dollar buyer that essentially ends up being the winner in the end. It's a numbers game, and obviously something that we talked about, Joe, and it's something that we're essentially trying to create as My Racehorse came on the scene. Now it's been a few years, but still kind of in that expansion process where we're trying to get those top athletes. And I think the bottom line, and I'm going to preface this as we bring in our friend from Data Point or the Breeze Figures in Jay Kilgore, but as the old saying goes, it's not how fast they go, it's how they go fast. And I found it quite fascinating as we welcome in Jay Kilgore. I found it quite fascinating in conversations that I had in reference to comparing a stride of Winx, comparing a stride of Zenyatta by the same late great sire Street Cry. But Jay Kilgore, pleasure to have you on the show today on My Racehorse Live. We know you're a busy man, and welcome on behalf of all of us here in My Racehorse Nation.
Thank you very much, and I'm happy to be here, and I appreciate everyone inviting me, and I hope I can add some insight of how you shop the 2-year-old sales. And what Joe was saying is looking for efficiency of stride is the key component of trying to pick out a 2-year-old.
Well, Jay, I just briefly wanted to touch on your history. Obviously, the fact that you've been in this game for quite some time. I know that we have spent some time in conversation, and I'm fascinated what you have to offer. And I respect your knowledge. So tell us a little bit about your history. And
Okay.
Joe Mishak would like to kind of walk through the process of what you provide.
All right, and definitely cut me off if I'm going too long or if I'm long-winded. I started in the game, honestly, so I could travel, and boy, does that come to fruition. I go to the Southern Hemisphere 3 or 4 times a year, but when I was in high school, I just want to be with horses. My family's not in the game or anything like that, so I started working sales, volunteering on farm to learn curry comb and pitchfork. Cut my teeth with Russell Jones and did a lot of work for Fred Seitz, and then started with a data company and spent 2 or 3 years there, and then went out on my own. I've got 2 partners in Data Track. And now we pretty much hang our hat on the 2-year-old sales. We do them all over the world, Europe, New Zealand, Australia. Anywhere there's horses running in circles, I'm usually there.
All right. So, Jay, it sounds like obviously you're a globetrotter of sorts, and appreciating the fact that you've taken that wealth of knowledge and applied it to a trade. So I know that Joe Mishak has some questions, and obviously for the viewers out there as they tune in, we've got thousands out there that are watching the show, and you are a part of the process as it pertains to the buying process for not only us at My Racehorse, but of course providing your information across the board. So Joe, I know that you had some questions that you wanted to present.
Yeah, I mean, I think analytics are an important component to business in general, and especially in the sports industry of late. As much of our viewers tuning in know, I'm sure, Nick, you were a little perplexed back in about 2017 when Doug Peterson was changing the game and running on fourth downs against your Dallas Cowboys. You're probably, what is this guy doing, right? But his decisions were made on analytics. And, analytics, I think, are important. And guys like that in the NFL or Major League Baseball with sabermetrics or even horse racing would tell you, especially this is my point of view, analytics are a super important tool to use to value. They are not the end all be all, however, that we certainly, do still take other factors into consideration. So that's just kind of where our position is in the world of analytics.
Now, I agree 100%. You still have to have the horsemanship, but numbers helps, and numbers usually don't lie. Like you said earlier, when you're talking about fast breezes, there's still horses that go 9-4 or 20 something that aren't going to go well when they go to 5, 6, or certainly 8 furlongs. But numbers are a very helpful tool, very good tool. So
that being said, Jay, we utilize some of your services. Obviously, you have a wide range of services that you offer for many different clients that you work for. We utilize the breeze figures and the cardio scores. Can you? Here's a good example of kind of what goes in. So at a 50,000 foot level, can you kind of tell the shareholders what you do in looking at that breeze figure, what it means, and what are some of these terms like stride analysis and thrust mean?
Sure, happy to. So we have a product that we call a breeze fig. It's just like a buyer or a time form racing number that we give to every horse that breezes at a sale that we attend. And a breeze fig has 12 to 14 different numbers. Obviously, they're proprietary that go into that. But one of the things you were mentioning is time. And time is a good tool, but we use time in relation to stride time, meaning you can figure out a horse's work miles per hour by just doing simple math. Tim Flat is always going to be 45 miles per hour. And so when I take my stride analysis, which is usually at the 16th pole of most tracks, it's actually a little closer to the finish line at OBS just because I'm stuck where I am. I'm looking for a horse that's having a stride of 45 miles per hour. That to me is a 1-to-1 ratio. Well, the same can be said for a horse that goes 11 flat and goes in front of my camera at 42.7 miles per hour or whatever the equivalent of 11 is, which I think that is. And so we're looking for stride miles per hour versus work miles per hour. It helps us find that even work. We're also looking at thrust, or what we call hawk compression. The picture you have on the screen is obviously a still photo, but we take video of the horse and we can measure how much compression the hawk has into the ground and then push off, which is hawk compression or thrust. We measure how high the knees come off the ground, air time, ground time, the distance from both front feet. A lot of numbers go into that breeze fig. So you may have a long striding horse, but some of the other numbers are lacking. Therefore, his breeze fig won't be the best. And then you may have a horse that has a slightly above stride, but has a great breeze fig because the miles per hour work out evenly, and he's got tremendous thrust and great reach. So all those different things go into that breeze fig. And we use that breeze fig. They break them down into groups. If you're in a group 1 and 2, that's where 85% of the stakes horses that we see as 2-year-olds graduate from. Usually about 13 or 14% are in group 3, and there's those 2 or 3% horses that don't breeze well, but will come on later on in life and maybe hit a stake. But that's usually a 2 or 3% margin.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I obviously the other questions that come into mind in reference, I'm fascinated by your work, and we could probably go into a whole nother discussion and create a whole nother show based on those analytics. But in reference to the surface, for example, because we know that at Ocala, there is a different surface. And do you give a handicap as we would as handicappers when it's synthetic versus a dirt track, or even those that have had opportunities to work over a turf track?
Yes, we have found when the synthetic first started that we were getting longer stride lengths than we had usually seen on dirt or turf. Between dirt and turf was usually more. But when synthetic started, we started seeing longer strides than we were ever used to. And I kept thinking, okay, our calibration's off, our numbers are off. But it's just the cushion that the synthetic offers, and the horse doesn't go as far down into the ground on synthetic. So it's tough to say, we've done so many now at OBS and Keeneland when they had it a little bit, and even Del Mar, that synthetic is a great tool for breezing, but it's tough to move those horses from there to then what are they going to be when they get to dirt? It's more likely that the synthetic to turf is more equivalent than synthetic to dirt. And I have no problem. One of the horses we missed, everybody misses horses, is I'll have another. Didn't like his stride, didn't like his numbers, didn't do anything. And I don't think he did well even when he was in California until he got on dirt. And then he blossomed. But at OBS, he was less than average.
And that just goes to show. And I think that his purchase price, the sale was $5,000. And for my at the time in which he was, I believe it was Dennis. He was scrambling to find an owner, and J. Paul read him. Hey,
that's correct.
So it's the whole dynamic is interesting, and obviously, you're never going to make this game an exact science. But for what I believe and what I've seen with you, Jay, and your program, but I think it takes us closer to the goal line, and
exactly.
And I can appreciate that a whole lot. And I think it's the job of the buyer and their camp, and in this case, of course, between Joe, and myself, to investigate. Hey, why didn't that horse have a better stride? Then come to find out he wasn't necessarily bred to handle a given surface. But my true belief is that the truly good horses, you can see through that stride in the work you do, and eventually that could put you on the right path of buying a horse and often buying a horse right.
Yes, I agree. And I think that when you see a horse move, it's not just the stride, but they've got to have that efficiency. You've got to see it. And that's one of the things we try to put a number on is obviously knee height and leg length and reach is you need an efficient horse. 9 times out of 10, a good horseman can see that, but it's good to have a number that says, hey, this horse got a 10 or 10 out of 10 was a great mover type thing.
All right. Well, Jay, Joe, do you have any other questions for Jay today?
Yeah. So, that's, we can go on and on about probably, stride length and all that stuff, but the cardio score obviously is something we also utilize. And so, when people out there look and they see a 7.6 number or B+ number, how can you explain that to them, and what does that mean?
Right. Well, first we're looking at what's called an ejection fraction. I'm not hiding anything. I'll put it out there. You can Google it. It's the same thing in human physiology. It's how much blood each pulsation of the heart is pumping out in relation to body size, as well as sex and age of the horse. So we take an ultrasound of the left ventricle, and we're going to trace it, and we're going to get a number when it's pumped all the blood out, and then when it's full of blood. And based on having done 15,000 or more for sure, we can judge how many furlongs a horse can go. Now, I've told you, Joe, and I tell other people, hey, I want to find a horse that will only run in used to be King's Bishop, only 6 furlongs. And I will say 9 times out of 10, a horse's heart can go 6 furlongs. But if you're looking to go a mile or further, getting a heart score done is a definite assist to your purchase. You don't want to find out after you break your maiden at 6 furlongs and start backing up when you go 7 and reel back up when you go 8 that your horse is not going to get it. So to your question, Joe, is the 7.6 and a B+ is a horse that is absolutely a 2-turn horse. We can't really say, or we don't really say that the horse is a Derby horse because there are so few 1.25 mile races in this country. And then the fact that we haven't been able to scan all the 1.25 mile winners to us to comfortably say this is a 1.25 mile horse. We have no problem saying this horse is a 1.1 mile plus, but our sample size is so small that we don't feel confident as a company to say this is an absolute Derby horse because the sample size is just too small.
It's fascinating. I mean, obviously, when you think about it, and I had a conversation with Bob Baffert. This was a couple of years ago, and the conversation came in reference to can that particular horse. I think maybe at the time may have been Justified, and he kind of looked at me and kind of smiled. And he said, "How many horses today are actually bred to get 1.25 miles?" And
right.
If you think out loud, I mean, obviously the speed and the pedigrees and the breeding aspect of it, a lot of it has been geared towards speed, and which has created more of a brilliant versus a classic. And I was a big subscriber to the Chef de Race back in the days, and it was a great study, but it wasn't in the end. It it didn't mean everything. Obviously, you had to know it was on the inside. But
True.
you know, the fact that they say that Secretariat's heart was twice the size of that of a normal horse, you know, it kind of brought into play. Oh wow, you know, this. You mentioned the infraction. Is that what it is? The
ejection fraction.
ejection.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a fascinating aspect of it, indeed. So, Joe, do you have any other questions for Jay?
I don't, but it looks like we have one on the screen here. So if we want to ping that over to him.
Is efficiency something they either have or don't have? I would say it's they have. Certainly at a 2-year-old sale, it's tough to pass or really like a horse that has big, high knee action and a lot of what I call curl and just some inefficient motion. It would be tough to find that horse to go on later on racing at any distance and have fantastic motion. It's rare to ever see that. I will see horses that have great motion that get average motion, but I think you either have it or you don't have it. I will say when you're going a furlong, if you're going 10 flat, there's a lot more action in a horse's breeze than usually when they're going 11s or finishing a race at 5.5 furlongs or even obviously longer. So there is a little more action to a horse's gait when they're going 10 flat because they won't ever go 10 flat again, that you have to kind of look through and see, and that's where the numbers come in as well. All
right, Jay, that's a great answer. And once again, we want to thank you on behalf of myself and the entire My Racehorse team, and of course the shareholders out there that are tuning in, because this is all part of a learning process. And you know, if you're involved in the game and sport of horse racing, you're going to learn till the very last day that you reside here on the earth. So
absolutely.
On behalf of all of us, Jay Kilgore of Data Point and the Breeze Fix, and I'm sure many of you have clued into the DRF. I know I made a few dollars through the years on Jay's Breeze Fix. So salute to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for taking out your valuable time.
Happy to do it. Thank you all very much. Again, if you have any questions, just pass them on to Joe and I'll answer them as best I can in future emails. Thank you all and good luck.
All right, fantastic. And yeah, that was great. And I could probably go back and watch that time and time again and trying to absorb the knowledge. I know Joe, we've sat down with Jay at a round table at various sales, and you know, we picked his brain, and while you walk away from a conversation like, yeah, I get it, but the reality is I think he has so much more to offer, and I would take on another half an hour of just listening to what he had to say about the stride analytics and, you know, heart scores and whatnot.
Yeah, no doubt. It's like I said, it's a great tool that smart people like us, we think we are at least trying to utilize and you know, really put as a high mark on our buys.
All right. Well, let's move on. You know, I know that we went into the process of the selection process, but you know, moving ahead here, some exciting updates, Joe. And Joe, I know that we've been waiting for this particular moment, and our latest string of My Racehorse stablemates being offered up, and first and foremost, a daughter of Constitution. And that being 13 Stripes. She is in training with Steve Asmussen, Joe Mishak. Let's take the clock back to her purchase and what made us believe that she was going to be a game changer.
Yeah, I think, you know, listen, there's Constitution. There probably isn't a hotter stallion around in today's game. We're going to see his best produce, Tiz the Law, compete in the Travers tomorrow at Saratoga. So, you know, originally part of the chart that we put up was finding value. You know, between Constitution and the freshman stallion, Not This Time, talk about value is very hard to find. Not to say that a lot of horses aren't worth their purchase prices, but also when we go to a sale, we have to be very disciplined. We do put, you know, what we think the horse should fit in at price-wise. And then also, obviously, you get caught up in, man, I really want this horse. And so there is an allotment in your budget to aggressively pursue it. But at some point, you got to realize, hey, I'm not a billionaire and I'm not a ruler of the world like one of the sheikhs. So you have to be very disciplined in your valuation process. So when it came to 13 Stripes and we saw her by Constitution, one, obviously, it's going back to the athlete. We thought she was just a smooth operator during her breeze show. all the way throughout. Yeah, she went 10 seconds, which is a really good time. But again, I caution the 10 seconds versus the 10 and 2s. They can both be very good works, just as Jay alluded to. She went out, I believe, in 21 and 3, and then out in 34 and change, I think, for her workout. So, she was one of those horses, as I was alluding to earlier, that was just, doing it effortlessly and being consistent through her workout. And back when we went to the barn to see her, same deal, just mentally very sharp, consistent in how she was brought out and presented. When we go to the sales and physically inspect horses, we do it multiple times to see how horses react in the morning, in the afternoon, whether it's rainy out, whether it's hot out, and to get a gauge on their mental capacity. So I think she just had a lot of the traits that we look for in a good, solid horse.
Yeah, it's exciting, and the fact that I know that she's gotten some gate approval already, it just speaks to the precocity that she had exhibited to us at the sale. But again, so much going into that process. Obviously, having spoken to Jay Kilgore, getting his blessings in reference to that. But this is her on June 5th in that Breeze show. Joe, as you had mentioned there, Joe Moran, you've seen plenty of the Constitution progeny, and obviously an exciting time with the quote-unquote favorite for that first Saturday in September. What were the attributes that you liked most about this daughter of Constitution, 13 Stripes?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things was she seemed very balanced, and I think you saw that in her work as well. She just moved right along, and we kind of talk about mind, especially with fillies, and I consider her work workmanlike. She really went right to work from the get-go, and some of those things were the things that caught my mind right away.
Yeah, and also noting that sire, Constitution, wins 22% with first-time starters, which is an incredible stat if you don't already know. So
Nick,
shout out to Susan Ward. Yeah, no doubt. I can tell you this: Constitution has been on our radar for quite some time, and this one, there's so much positives in reference to her based on she checked all the boxes, and from a price perspective, I think she's way reasonable when you put it all into perspective. You look at her family, which includes Bird at the Wire. There's a nice female perspective of that family, including being a grade 1 type in her own right. There's no doubt that there should be plenty of precocity there to get excited about. So
yeah,
we look forward to that offering being coming out today as it was announced. Want to move on to I believe the New York Exacta. Now, this should be a fun one indeed. Also going to talk to you about Naismith, a son of Medaglia d'Oro. But the New York Exacta, Joe Mishak, what exactly comprises of the New York Exacta?
Yeah, so the New York Exacta is, two horses, two for the price of one, so to speak. What I call a value play with the Shackelford colt, who originally was named Capri's son, if I recall correctly, and we renamed Psychedelic Shack because Nick Hines himself, the day after we purchased the horse, he goes into his car and the first song on the radio is Psychedelic Shack. So I said, we cannot ignore that sign. We have to go with it. This is the type of horse that really, if you're looking specifically at pedigree, you probably would move over him fairly quickly. I compare this to a horse like, I'm not forecasting, not projecting, but I can compare the thought process similar to when we purchased Vertical Threat last year. I don't think that many people were looking for Capiture out of an Omega code, dam sire. It was truly about the athlete. It was looking about, yes, he did work out fast. Yes, I did caution about how fast workouts can be bad sometimes, but I also thought, this could be a good workout, and it really was. I mean, his stride was one of the biggest. I think we going back to the data points that we evaluated at the sale, and he worked, I think, 20 and 2, 20 and 3, and he went out just as fast. So he's a horse that he didn't slow down after he hit the wire. He went out, I believe, Nick. What did the consignor tell us his next split was, if you recall?
We actually had him clocked out in 31 and 4. for the 3/8 of a mile, which is ultra impressive. And I think based, when you talk about pedigree in itself, if you had a situation where I'm going to attribute the fact that maybe he's a little light on the maternal side because of the fact that the mother is only 6 years of age. So it's a young developing line. But this, again, put us into a position where we could go in with what looks to be a tremendous athlete. And I mean, being around the horse himself, I think, Joe, you can attest to the fact that the mental psyche of this particular individual, the way he stared into the camera, as you can see in that photographer's photo, he just gives you the impression that I don't think the horse realizes how quick and how fast and how forward he is. And he definitely comes across as an individual. Where Shackelford had the tendency to be a little on edge, this horse is the polar opposite. He's a nice, even-keeled individual with tremendous aptitude. And in my mind, he had plenty of soul. And I think he's going to be quite the performer.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think you alluded to one of the reasons about value, and yeah, he was a little light on the dam side without throwing some black type runners out there. But if you look at the runners the second dam produced, they're all runners. I mean, we're talking about horses that have earned over $150,000, I believe, which a lot of horses, quite frankly, most horses don't get to that level of earnings. So that's just reality. So yeah, he might have been dinged by a lot of other people when it came to, there isn't stakes placed horses right now. But as you alluded to, that mare line is a bit young, and we're going to take a swing on the athlete and the cool mindset he had.
Yeah, the fact that when the rider never outside of breaking off from the pole, never cued him. I mean, in reality, when you watch the gallop out, he never essentially. He was just a light switch. If you want to turn him off, you could. He was happy to be out there and striding out with great efficiency. So as part of that New York exacta, we welcome you, a daughter of Frosted, out of the mare Girlfriend. Boy, she's pretty. So a pair of grays for the New York exacta. I'm sure many out there are excited about that in itself.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's one of the things we hear a lot is, when are you guys going to guess grays? And we're like, it's not for a lack of trying. It's a lack of that discipline at the sales process of finding ones that, meet all of our criteria. And then frankly, we don't, we stay within discipline and don't go too crazy on that bidding process of finding value. So nice filly. She's got quite the personality. We'll be sharing a video this weekend with the shareholders and some of other people out there to take a look at her. I mean, she's just got, the personality. Psychedelic Shack went to Linda Rice already because he was a horse that was quite forward, we believe, in his training and could stand going on. We thought this filly and Naismith, who we'll talk about next, could use a little time off. I know we've talked about it at the sales. It's like, a very intense combine, for horses, and we want to give them a little bit of a breather before they go back to the track. And both horses, both Quick Conversation and Naismith, look phenomenal. They're outside of Spendthrift at Silver Springs training right now in Kentucky, and really enjoying the little 45 day breather we'll give them, and they'll both be shipped to Christophe Clement and Richard Mandela, respectively, here in early to mid-September.
Right. As far as Quick Conversation is concerned, I was going to ask you a quick question in reference to the name, but the one thing I can appreciate about her family, the likes of the Graded Stakes, Performing Collect Call, you get into that third dam with the likes of the Meteorons, who is a tremendous race mare in her own right. So there's plenty of female presence there. I'm excited to be part of a Frosted, as we took a couple of runs at Frosted earlier this year. But I thought Paul Sharp did a wonderful job bringing her up to the sale. And, she definitely has another horse that's very well balanced from a mental aspect. And you go back to the sale, not only do I think that she'll have the ability to sprint, but I think she is also one that will go on further. You can see here in the Brady Show, she did not work with blinkers, which as a longtime scout, I can appreciate. Being a former trainer, I've always believed that less equipment is better. And I think that there's more room for development. And I think this is just the tip of the iceberg with her.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'll also note she's out of a Distorted Humor mare, I believe. And Distorted Humor is topped the Broodmare stallion rankings for, gosh, going on, I think, about 5 years now, give or take, with some really nice horses. So, when you talk about pedigree analysis as well, which is also part of our process of evaluating horses and how do certain sire lines react together, it's, one of the processes called nicking. So we put a little bit of thought process into that, but I wouldn't say it's paramount. But to have that bottom side precocity and stamina in there is a nice play.
So the name Quick Conversation.
So the name Quick Conversation. So Frosted's mare is Fast Cookie, and on the bottom side you have Collect Call. So quick for fast, conversation for collect call, and as many of you probably know me, that I can be very to the point. That's my personality. So it's also a little play from the Grand Slam social team that jokes with me about how I'm very to the point.
I love it. Well, that's great stuff. And Quick Conversation, part of that New York exacta with Psychedelic Shack. And last but not least, we want to discuss another that is being offered up, and that is Naismith, a son of Medaglia d'Oro, who is very well bred, of course, brother to the Grade 1 winning Klimt, who is also now a stallion, who is progeny have actually looked quite well on the ground, and they'll be 2-year-olds of next year, from my understanding. But Naismith, there's a good look at that son of Medaglia d'Oro out of the mare Inventive. So, Joe, what were the attributes of this colt? I can't say one thing outside of the fact that I love him. I mean, obviously, this horse, another horse that was very well balanced. I think he's got plenty of upside. Not a horse that you will see as an 1/8 of a mile specialist, but likely a 1 1/8 specialist, one that I think could win early as well.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. I mean, I think let's be real here. We're talking about a Medaglia d'Oro who stands for $200,000 stud fee. Has produced the likes of many champion horses. Was a smart horse himself. We just saw another Medaglia d'Oro that we have in Moonlit Doro, and we've remarked about how mentally sharp we think she is. So that's a trait that we look for in the Medaglia d'Oro offspring, and we think this guy has it too. You mentioned his half brother Klimt, who won, I believe, the Grade 1 Del Mar Futurity for Bob Baffert out at Del Mar, and he was forward. But I also think that just like Medaglia d'Oro, this colt is going to appreciate age and time. That's why we gave him a little bit of the breather. We'll get him into Richard's barn and prepare for the Del Mar fall meet or Santa Anita spring, and we'll roll from there. But yeah, I mean, Medaglia d'Oro, you don't have to sell me much on offspring there. I'm certainly a little. I won't say I'm biased here, but I certainly love them. And if all the check boxes are met, we're going to take a strong run.
Yeah, I think they fit. And I know, Joe Moran, you want to add in reference to the idea of horses to given trainers as far as our friend Richard Mandela is concerned, and how Naismith fits into his program. Would you give it a 10 out of 10?
Yeah, absolutely. And I see this as a horse, kind of like you mentioned, he's not an 1/8 of a mile specialist. And that's what I love most about his work. When you see his work, it almost seemed as if he started from the 8th pole and then started going, where a lot of horses will have that run up into the work. I was a big fan of his work. I thought it got better the farther it went. And going to Richard Mandela, I think he's only going to develop this horse. And we talked about his capability of developing a horse is key.
Yeah, I can't tell you. I mean, in looking back, obviously last year we were fortunate to be involved with a couple of stakes performers. Vertical Threat, who was purchased out of the OBS, was it April sale last year, gentlemen?
Yes.
And
Yes,
obviously the goal is to get into the Pat Day Mile for $500,000, and then of course with the likes of Carpe Venum, who will be looking to start in the Grade 1 Del Mar Oaks. So you can see that the bar continues to get greater, but for the My Racehorse partners out there, the shareholders, this is an opportunity for you to be part of a franchise, be part of a game-changing and game-winning opportunity. And the 4 horses that we just mentioned, 13 Stripes, the New York Exacta, with Psychedelic Shack, and A Quick Conversation, of course, Naismith. I see a lot of here's, I see a lot of tomorrows, and I see a lot of down the road. So there's just the complete, I guess, the pie of what you would want from the game, because there's so much hope and promise. I must say, I love the balance. So, gentlemen, let's bring back in Hannah Bloom, of course. Speaking of balance, I know that we're covering a lot of territory today. Be sure to go to the My Racehorse website. Check out the offerings being posted up. If you've got questions, both Joe Moran, Joe Mishak are there for you. Hannah, wow, this has been kind of a busy time for you. I know we've had several contests and whatnot. How can you share us those favorite moments over the past couple of weeks on My Racehorse?
Yeah, so of course there's always many of my favorite moments when it comes to social, but we're going to pull up a photo pretty soon here of Power Up Painter, and how could you not fall in love with him with a face like that? He definitely knows how to find the camera. Those are kind of my favorite things to share on social. I love getting bath time videos, these kind of photos, anything like that you get to see kind of the character of these horses. It's really nice, especially in this time when we can't really go and see them. And as you mentioned, the My Racehorse wins, please keep taking those videos. We've so enjoyed seeing those moments, even if it's not a win, even Moonlit Doro's second place effort, which was really impressive. Someone videoed themselves doing that and sent it in. And, we even had a first winner for that first month we've been doing this. So keep on using My Racehorse Wins hashtag. You can get a $500 My Racehorse Shop gift card. I'm wearing my shirt today again. I love my hat and my shirt. So keep on looking and keep on using that hashtag. We'd love to see it.
Yeah, I find it fascinating. As you see the little tweet there to the bottom of the right, New York Dark Blue. Boy, this game has changed immensely, knowing the fact that it is so interactive. And I think that's what makes and sets My Racehorse above anyone else, based on the fact that you do have that transparency, and B, you do have an opportunity to interact, whether it be Joe, myself, even Hannah in that regard, because we're talking racing. And, Moonlit Doro, as I said, Moonlit Doro, because I was past tense, because I'm looking forward to Moonlit Doro. Got you there. But the point being is that it is interactive. It is part of the process. So what do we have here, Hannah?
So this is one of the My Racehorse wins that was sent in, and this is so great. They put it in the right place. You can see the dog or cat in the background kind of scared at the reaction. This is what we love to see. So like I said, please keep using My Racehorse Wins hashtag, and $500 gift card on the line. And who doesn't want more My Racehorse gear?
Did you say that you had already given out a contest winner last month?
Yes, we did. So we actually showed it here last week or the week before, I believe. But his name is Brian, and he was kind of in a bar, it looked like, that he is in. And, his video was really great. So that was for Authentics Race. So keep on using that hashtag.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that one. And a big shout out to the Triple Clowns as well. I got a big kick out of it, of course. It had a little bit of a personal touch with using a segment for me rumbling down the stairs at the park. But send it in, folks. Here's an opportunity for you to apply that $500 gift opportunity at the My Racehorse store, and some great things being opportunityed up there for you to purchase. So you won't have to turn in your video, and you are a contest winner. And I don't think it costs your time, your money, but your time, and it's well worth the price of admission. All right, Hannah. Well, thank you for that. And we'll continue to remind the folks of the contest being offered up. But on that note, we want to welcome in one of our My Racehorse partners, and I'm proud to call him a friend in the social media world of things. And the one thing that I can appreciate most about this particular gentleman is that he's very positive. When it's not so much a good day, he still looks to the positive, knowing that there is tomorrow, and the fact that it's 365 days a year. But looking at this man and his wall of fame, Matt Kimmel, in a short amount of time, you surely know how to play the game and play it right. Welcome to My Racehorse Live.
Thanks for having me on, Sarge. I always look forward to watching your show each week.
Well, you're a good man, and both Joe Mishak and Joe Moran have had an opportunity to work with all the owners, and namely in this particular case, we also had Mr. Evans on last week. But Matt, you've been involved with My Racehorse for how long now?
Little over 2 years. The first horse I got in on was Swiss Minister, and that was one of your horses. And it took about a year before we got a win, but Swiss Minister and the Sarge are pictured in my living room in the back,
I
and
love it.
that was back in the good old days when my dad and I could be in the picture at the racetrack in the winner's circle.
Yeah, no, it's amazing how time kind of evolves, and obviously it kind of puts things into perspective, because as I'm looking at that Wall of Fame, I'm humbled by the fact that you got Swiss Minister up there, and it was a fun run. Stacy says hello. Susan says hello. Not only am I a fan, but you've got a number of fans out there. But so talk to us about the process. You got involved with Swiss Minister, of course, the partnership with Battleborn there at the time. And from then until now in the process, why are you continue to purchase and be part of it? Is this something that you would say because you're just happy doing it, or what's the main reason for it?
Well, one of the things I really like about it is the thrill of winning. I used to be a sports writer and sports editor. I actually got into journalism because I wanted to write for the Daily Racing Form, and that never really panned out. But winning races and following along the horses is just a great thrill. I watch the races almost on a daily basis, even when my horses aren't running. So the fact that you can have a little piece of skin in the game is really what got me into it. Like I said, it started with Swiss Minister, and then also Sigmund was my second horse. We're still waiting for him to get his first win, but shortly after that, I got in on Street Band, and winning a graded stakes race was just one of the most exciting part of sports I've ever been involved in. Like I said, I used to be a sports writer. I've covered Stanley Cup playoff games. I interviewed Bill Belichick. Actually made him laugh.
Wow.
Very few reporters to ever do that. And when we won the Grade 1 stakes race with Street Band, that was just the most exciting thing I think in sports that I've ever been involved in. And just trying to get more pictures up on the wall is something I look forward to each week. We have so many horses now. It seems like almost every week we're entered in races, and trying to fill up this whole wall back here with more and more horses.
Yeah, it's kind of like a website, right? I mean, you're constantly updating, and you hope that you would update it more with the win pictures. And unfortunately, during this COVID-19 pandemic, we don't have the opportunity to interact and be part of that winner circle celebration. But that's why we've got social media, of course, Hannah Bloom and those that are sending in their videos and exciting moments, of course, when you're winning a race. But I wanted to take a step back to the Breeders' Cup experience last November for you and how that went. And of course, we fast forwarded. We went back to Swiss Minister. In the midst, you mentioned Street Band, the Grade 1 winner, who will be making a return this weekend. But tell us about that Breeders' Cup experience last November.
Yeah, that was just awesome. Going to the Breeders' Cup just as a fan, without having a horse in the race would have been, just a thrill. But Street Band won the cotillion. We had a win and you're in, and we got a run for a world championship. I don't know if she didn't like the track or the traveling. It was such a high of being there, and then it was a little bit of a low, just hoping we'd win, hoping we'd come in the money, and then she finished 8th. But the experience of just being there was great. A couple days before the race, there was a barn tour. We got to meet Lazy Daisy and Street Band. So we actually had 2 horses in the Breeders' Cup. Hoping we can do that again this year. I doubt I'll be able to make it out to Keeneland this year, but having the Street Band in our own backyard in November was just an awesome experience. And she was stabled in Santa Anita, and a bunch of the owners that I used to see at the racetrack were there. We all got a really nice experience of getting to meet Street Band because she's always based on the East Coast, and having her out here was real special.
So at this stage of the game, you've gone essentially from one and being partnered up with Swiss Minister until today. We're talking August 7th, 2020. How many horses are you currently involved with? And could you tell us, give me 3 attributes of my racehorse that sets my racehorse apart from the rest?
I have about 23 horses or so today. I would say by the end of the day, I might have up to 27. We'll see. There's a couple coming on sale in about 30 minutes or so.
Right.
Definitely interested in the Constitution horse. The thing I really like about my racehorse is, one, it's a community. Everybody, from the employees of my racehorse and the founders, you go to the racetrack and they welcome you. Everybody's, real upfront and straightforward. A lot of the owners I've met at the racetrack or been interviewed with on NBC before Street Band ran in the cotillion. We're friends. We talk about the races and, kind of chat on a daily basis, kind of try to share some winners when our horses aren't running. And, just a real exciting thing to be a part of. I feel like the more horses you get, the more chances you got of winning. And, I see some people on the websites trying to sell their horses, and I think they need to wait a little longer, see how the horses develop, because, you never know what's going to happen down the road.
So community is obviously key. And would you say from a transparency standpoint that you've been pleased with what you've seen with my racehorse? Essentially, you asking the hard questions and getting the answers that you desire?
Yeah, I feel like, anytime I seen Joe or Joe at the racetrack, I ask them any questions. They're real straightforward and transparent and honest. And, they want, what's best for the owners and what's best for the horses.
Yeah, and that's paramount. And in a sense that the horse comes first. And, we talk about the days of condition books, and you go back to the Charlie Whittingham, the Bobby Frankel era. If you were an owner caught with a condition book in the barn, chances are you would be an owner in that particular stable. But times have changed. Stacy left and Glick, honestly, one big happy family. Have you had some friendships that have actually been founded and have evolved with my racehorse as well? You talked about community. I can imagine you probably met a few friends along the way, and hoping that will evolve as well.
Yeah, one of my favorite owners, obviously Fred, but Robert on my birthday gave me, Robert Bradley, he gave me a Tis a Magician halter keychain for my birthday. He knew I was going to be at the track, and he came up and personally handed me a birthday present, and that was a really cool experience. I got the Tis a Magician keychain still, and it's something I don't even keep it in my pocket because I don't want to get it scratched or dented, but it was a real nice gesture. A lot of the, owners, we see each other when we used to be at the racetrack, always see the same people out there and, have good conversations and good times. And hopefully we're all able to get back at the track in the winner's circle together again soon, because, the pictures are much more exciting when you're in them than when there's 1 or 2 people with a mask in them.
Yeah, as the bottom line says, amen to that indeed. Certainly, we could go on and talk about the owner racehorse experience. And Matt, know you're a busy guy, and I noticed you have your Street Band hat on. Of course, you'll be taking center stage in the Groupie Doll on Sunday. And where will you be watching the race?
I'll be watching the race right here. Street Band won a Grade 1 race in this seat, so I think this is my lucky seat. This is my lucky hat. When Street Band runs, I like to wear this hat. Sometimes when I know she's running, I end up wearing the hat for a whole week. This hat has brought me some good luck.
I love it. Well, Matt, again, thank you so much for taking out your time, and I'm sure that you'll be on shows going forward. We appreciate your support at My Racehorse, and of course, you too, my friend. You're part of the team. Without you, there is no us. We appreciate, and I in particular appreciate your positivity as we interact both on Facebook and, of course, Twitter, namely there. So get lucky this weekend, and thanks again for coming on My Racehorse Live.
Thanks for having me on, Sarge. I'll be tuning in next week.
Matt Kimmel, ladies and gentlemen, and wow, maybe up to 27 horses by the end of the day. I love his mindset. Obviously, he's a numbers guy, and thus far, he is playing it out well. He's had a Grade 1 winner already in the holster with some stakes performers, and I have a feeling, Joe, and Hannah, that there will be more on the horizon.
No doubt. We're going to win.
All right, folks. Well, again, I want to thank each and every one of you out there in my racehorse land for making this show and our dreams a possibility. And of course, we're in this together as we state the fact that we have opportunities that have been presented to you and some exciting performers that are coming off of debut runs and those that are looking to get back into that Breeders' Cup distaff with Street Man this weekend. Be sure to tune in. My Racehorse, you can have your own little watch party as we will present that for you, in addition to having the accessibility to watch it at TVG with the Groupie Doll this Sunday. So on behalf of Joe, and Hannah, this is Nick Hines saying thank you. And of course, be sure to check out myracehorse.com for the new editions being released here in just a matter of minutes. Enjoy the rest of your day and weekend. Until next time, we'll see you in the winter circuit.